baby.
Well, aloha, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to NXT. I did it again, Nate. I was gonna say NXT 8 years back. I was so busy thinking of my hand motion to start the show. I forgot what show I was on. PWT Talks NXT.
That's the one.
I'm your host, and we're talking NXT for December the 16th, 2025. A show that felt taped to me at sometimes, but on the other hand, if it was taped, would they have shown us that horrifying botch? Probably not. They probably would have reshot the match entirely. But we will get to that. We are actually going to open with a little bit of chatter about Saturday night's main event. I was indeed. Wade asked me if I could do a post show of that show with him because it had a heavy NXT presence, and as it happened, I was out of town at a card show and could not do that. So you get it now. Yeah. So go top down. Where do we? Well, I guess we start with Obafemi because he was in the opener against Cody Rhodes, a match that didn't get a ton of time, but you wouldn't want to have these guys have too good a match and not leave it on the table for down the road because these guys will meet down the road, almost certainly. So yeah, I thought that this was a good way to snake out of having a finish. I don't know why I didn't consider the disqualification angle or the match thrown out angle.
Oh, I
In
did.
retrospect, it's the only way to do this match. So Mr. I thought of it first, Nate.
I
Tell
did.
me, tell me what you thought um,
Oh, I
about Oba, I guess in general, and how he acquitted himself on not national TV, on national Peacock,
and and,
on a big
and
stage.
YouTube internationally.
Yeah, there you
Um,
go.
Yeah, so I thought Oba looked great on a big stage like this. I mean, especially with the entrance. First off, I loved the set for Saturday night's main event. The entrance ramp, the way that they had it kind of like snaked into the crowd, that long just that long hallway, I guess you want to call it. Um, and like the opening shot after his music hits, kind of the opening shot coming in really low. So, he looked super tall. Like it just made him look not just big, massive, but it made him look like a really big star. I think he held his own really, 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 really well with Cody Rhodes. He got I mean, lion's share of the offense in that match. Um, Unfortunately, I saw Drew McIntyre coming in for the attack, causing the disqualification. I think I actually called it last week. I know I called the disqualification on the show last week. I may have not necessarily said Drew McIntyre, but that's what I was thinking. It's exactly what happened. I didn't know how else they were going to get out of this match. You can't have the WWE champion beat the NXT champion clean because, I mean, that's kind of what everybody, I guess, would expect. And it kind of, in a sense, buries the entire NXT roster. But you can't have the NXT champion pin the WWE champion clean because what does that say about the WWE champion? So they kind of backed themselves into a corner there where really the only thing that made sense was nobody wins. And how do you get there? Drew McIntyre. I like the post match angle where Oba kind of came to Cody's defense, with the choke slam onto Drew. So I think overall, I think it was a great main roster debut for Oba. And it's so clear the crowd, not the crowd, the company is super high on him. Not only just to put him in that spot with Cody in the first place, but the way that they talked about him on commentary, the fact that he got the lion's share of the offense in that match, I thought he looked like $1 million. And like you said, I do not think this is the first and only time we're going to see Femi and Cody. uh, give it a year or two, maybe a little bit more or so, maybe less. I don't know. But once Oba gets up to the main roster, there's no question in my mind he's going to be up in the main event scene.
Goodfellas says Oba looked awesome. I want Drew to win the strap and have Oba chase him. Yeah, regardless of who's chasing him, I want Drew to win the strap. Like, I just think that he should be the champion yesterday, and yeah, he should have had a run during this awesome heel run. I feel like they did not strike while the iron was hot was hit with him. I get that they've got very strong champions, but I just think that that Drew should have had a real reign sometime in the last couple years. But it does seem like maybe that's coming. Hopefully that's true. I don't have the order of matches sitting here in front of me. So
Sol Ruka and Bailey was the
was that
second match.
the next one? Okay, yeah. Sol Ruka and Bailey was next. I guess I did have it memorized. And yeah, Sol Ruka wins this one. She hits the Soul Snatcher, but Bailey is too close to the ropes, and then she ends up winning on kind of a weak roll up, which is, I guess, the way to do it if you are going to have an NXT person go over. So they got the visual of the Soul Snatcher, which they wanted because it's that kind of move. But then Bailey didn't have to lay down for a finisher, and then had the out of being like, well, it was kind of a silly roll up or whatever. And yeah, I mean, that does make it seem like Bailey is kind of in that position of giving back to some degree. I
The
know that
Natty
they want,
Neidhart.
yeah, yeah, and I know that they want Ruka to be a big deal. I guess I'm just happy Bailey's getting matches like this because for a bit she wasn't being booked on these shows at all. Not that she's been on a lot of big fours lately, but yeah, it's been interesting going for her. And hopefully there's something beyond that. But anything more with Ryan Solorio goes hard here. He says, I've been saying Sol Ruka has the potential to be the women's Will Ospreay. She might already have too much charisma. I like Will a lot, but he's got a really weird way of talking. I have seen a lot of Will Ospreay because I have seen every New Japan match going back to 2016. It means I've seen a lot of Will Ospreay, even though I haven't seen much of him lately. But yeah, that was that. So a strong statement, regardless. But yeah, let's go to Sol Ruka, Nate.
Sure. I also just learned that Sol Ruka was the Cinnamon Toast Crunch mascot at WrestleMania. And that just tickles me. That just tickles me. Apparently tickles my throat. Anyway, Sol Ruka Bailey. I thought this was a great match. There's some botches in it. It wasn't necessarily the cleanest throughout, but I still think it was a good match, good showcase. Like you said, glad to see Bailey in this spot, finally getting some matches on cards that matter. I mean, this is John Cena's final show, so I mean, a lot of times Saturday night's main events, they're not. I don't want to say they're non-canon because they are, but they're not necessarily built up like a PLE or anything like that. But this is a big show. No matter how you spin it, no matter what the branding on the actual show is called, it was John Cena's final show. This is a big show. So glad to see Bailey on that spot and all of the NXT talent for that matter as well. I think it was probably as close to like a perfect show as you could get Saturday night's main event. There was just a lot of good Sol Ruka Bailey, like I said, some botches, but it was still a good match. Bailey's definitely in that giving back type of spot right now, that Natty Neidhart role, if you will. I don't think it's a bad spot for her. I can't imagine. Well, I was going to say I can't imagine she's super fulfilled with it, though. She probably is to a point because obviously, she works flatbacks with Tyler Breeze's school, and she a trainer there, and she likes giving back to the younger talents and things like that. But I know she's probably wants a little bit more before her career winds up, completely winding down. Um, so I would like to see her maybe win another title, and kind of build that cachet back up, because that's only going to help the people that she's in the ring, building up, and losing to as time goes forward. It's going to make them seem more important, the more important she seems. So, but yeah, that said, I think this is a great spot for Soul. She got the win. Yeah, she did get the win. She gets the win over Bailey, and I think it was a great kind of introduction. And it's not the first time she's been in front of the main roster, but you kind of a good way to I guess reintroduce her in a way. 'Cause I think is what, like the Rumble and maybe one or two other things she's been in. Um, but yeah, the Soul Snatcher, like that, I think is really that, and a lot of her aerial aerobatic type moves. That's really what's going to get her over with the main roster crowd, just like it did with NXT. But I feel like those, just kind of how flashy those moves are and how fluid she is with them. The sky is the limit for her on the main roster, as far as I'm concerned.
Goodfella says Bailey shouldn't be in that spot. She has top spot mojo, in my opinion. Give her another faction of NXT gals. Damage control was great. Yeah, you're not going to have any argument out of us, I
Wow,
don't think. Like, I think that we both think
I'd
that
love to see
Bailey
that.
has a lot more value left to give, and not just in terms of doing some jobs. So, if she had to wait out this year to get to another big year, then that, for me, all will be forgiven. Like, people rotating at the top doesn't bother me, especially when you don't have a gigantic division. But yeah, I don't know. Derek Hubbard says Bailey did a great job carrying the match. She made Soul look great. Soul hit all her spots. She still has a tendency to go into spot mode instead of focusing on the moments between the moves. And I agree with this too. I'm not overly hard on Soul, but this is something that I've noticed about her. I'm hardest on her when she's in a non wrestling capacity and seems to forget where she is, when she was outside the ring during a Zarya match and there was a "This is awesome" chant and she started chanting along with the crowd. Um, I feel like maybe Soul's got a lot of brains, but they all went to her wrestling. So I don't know. I think that Soul is, yeah, I say I don't go hard and then I go hard. I I think that she does have that tendency also. It will be interesting to see where it goes from here. She occasionally looks lost to me during segments backstage, and kind of look into where she's supposed to be. She never ever looks lost inside the ring, however. So yeah, yeah, and she is a bit of a spot monkey, or whatever term you want to use. But yeah, it was a nice match with Bailey. At any rate, yeah, the tag match. This one didn't get a lot of promotion, but Leon Slater and Javon Evans. I thought it was great for Slater to get a spot like that. Little did I know, a way bigger thing for Slater was about to happen. Slater and Javon faced
AJ Lee.
those guys, AJ Lee, AJ and Lee. So yeah, this match was fine. I thought I remembered something going wrong, and now I can't remember what it is. But
AJ couldn't hit the phenomenal forearm. He slipped off the ropes.
oh yeah, oh what a bummer.
I know.
Yes, I do recall that now. So yeah, this match didn't go overly long, but nothing was meant to on a night that was meant to be about something else. So this is, I guess, this is the only other NXT spot we have to talk about.
That's true.
Yeah, so there you go.
So I thought this was a great match between these guys as well. Like I said earlier, I thought Saturday night's main event was as close to like a perfect show as you could get for an exhibition type of a show. Um, but I mean, this is a great spot to showcase Leon Slater and Javon Evans. They are, as all of you guys know, two amazing talents. They're incredible together as a tag team or singles. But man, I love them as tag team. Um, One thing that I really want to call out is when AJ slipped off the ropes and didn't hit the phenomenal forearm, Javon and Leon, they didn't miss a beat. They just picked right up and carried on. They moved into the next spot. Whereas somebody like we were kind of just talking about with Soul, how she's she kind of goes from one spot to the next, doesn't necessarily let things breathe, and might have been a little lost in a spot like that. Javon and Leon didn't. They just kept going. They moved right to the next thing. Showed some great ring awareness there. They're 21 years old, but they showed the ring awareness of a 42-year-old. I don't know. I just doubled their age, so there we go. Yeah, so don't want to harp too much on it because we still got a lot to cover with the actual show tonight. But I think this is a great spot for them. I was a little confused because it was at one point billed for the tag team championships, and then it was not, and then it was again, and then it wasn't. So I wasn't sure if this was a title match or not until the match is over, and wouldn't have mattered anyway because AJ and Dragon Lee won. But other than that little bit of confusion with the promotion of the match, I thought this is a great spot for them, especially to kind of once again you kind of reintroduce these two to the main roster, and really show that this is that next the future of the talent that we're going to be seeing on WWE programming, which is kind of the underlying theme throughout all of Saturday Night's Main Event, other than obviously the big theme, John Cena's last match. But his time was up. Their time's now.
Ooh, what a segue.
Right.
Ryan Slorio says, if you add Leon and Javon's ages together, they're still younger than AJ by 6 years. LOL. AJ and I are about a month apart in age. So Ryan, it's been great having you on the show, but I'm going to have to ask you to be removed. I don't care. I don't care for what's just transpired here.
You old man, you.
Let's talk about one of these fetuses. Leon Slater, primarily. Your main event tonight. Leon Slater goes over Joe Hendry, Miles Bourne, and Dion Lennox. Miles got so much of the shine going into the match at Deadline, and then he was the last one to get pinned at Deadline, and he was the one who got pinned here. But what are you going to do? Win a few, lose a few. Leon Slater won this one, 16 minutes and 27 seconds, Swanton 450 in the end. And they did a storyline early on where he did a really believable tweak to his knee early on. And then he got in and he started doing moves. And I'm like, nobody even talked to him, which means this is a work, but he's selling pretty well. And so he continued to sell. And for 16 minutes, 27 seconds, almost this entire runtime, he was the focal point. This was such a good 4-way. I don't like 3-ways and 4-ways in this company because inevitably they forget about storytelling to just get through all their spots. This match hit its spots and it still told the story of Leon overcoming when he was already the underdog for so many reasons anyway, but then he had the knee tweak and then going through and figuring out a way to win this match. This was aces. This is one of my favorite 4-ways NXT has ever done. The best one is still like the first one with TJ and Sami Zayn and Bo Dallas and Tyler Breeze.
Okay.
Oh, you know what? Neville, I think, is in there, and I don't think Sammy is, but I'd have to. Whatever. It's that one. We're thinking of the same one. Yeah. So great stuff by Leon. I gushed about him in the chat and in the recap, and I'm gushing about
Adrian
him now.
Neville, Tyson Kidd, Tyler Breeze, Sami Zayn.
Okay. Who did I add? Bo Dallas. I added Bo Dallas after Bo was already gone. Okay, so there you go. Yeah, I liked this a lot. So Dion Lennox. Let's see. Derek Hubbard said about Lennox. Main event was strong. Mechanically, Dion Lennox is looking much better. Still lacks the charisma and mean streak, but the skill set is there. I think the mean streak's getting there a little bit too.
I thought you said mean street as in posse.
No,
Oh wow. I need
no.
sleep. I need
I
sleep.
don't think that that Dion is the next Joey Abs. But hey, someone's going to be. So anyway, yeah. So Dion, I thought looked pretty good. Miles got quite a bit of shine here. Joe probably had the second most shine after Leon Slater, but this was a match about Leon Slater to put Leon Slater over. At one point, I typed, Leon isn't winning tonight, but he's definitely getting something out of this match. And then he won. So I looked like a liar. But I'm in danger of going into an infinite loop about how much I like Leon Slater and can't wait to watch the entirety of his career if I get to live that long. But Nate, go ahead.
God, you and me both, man. You and me both. Like Leon and Javon, both of them. The sky is the absolute limit for these two. I am right with you. I thought this was probably one of the best Fatal Four-Way matches that I've seen, period. I'm also not super like a huge fan of like, Fatal Four-Ways, five ways, six ways, whatever. A lot of times they get too frenetic and a little overbooked and whatnot. But I thought the way that this was paced, the way this booked, it was really good. Matter of fact, during the match itself, and Jobin was messaging me on Discord and said the exact same thing. Like, wow, they would act. Let me hold on. What was it that they said? Damn, they're not messing around with this match. And they really didn't. This a lot, like you said, a lot of shine on Leon Slater, a lot of shine on Joe Hendry. Coming into this match, as much as I wanted to see Leon Slater win, I'm like, he's already a champion in TNA. He's the X Division champion, and I and he's a TNA guy. I don't see him winning. I really did. I thought it was going to be Miles Bourne. They've been building Miles up quite a bit over the last handful of weeks. Actually, even a little bit longer than that. I mean, heck, he had a match against Obafemi for the NXT title, a while back. They've been trying to turn him into a singles star, and I think they're doing a decent job at that. And that's part of the reason why I thought he was going to win this match tonight. I thought maybe Joe Hendry had a slight chance of winning too, but he kind of felt, I don't want to say felt like an afterthought, but it's probably the best thing that my brain can come up with right now is he kind of felt like a little bit of an afterthought, for the promotion of this match. They showed Miles Bourne, backstage, pumping up with a couple, fitness bands earlier in the night during another match. They kind of did a split screen thing showing him backstage getting ready for the main event. So that was where my mind was. But yeah, I mean, man, all four of them, they pulled out the stops for this match, made Leon look like $1 million here. Not only did they make him look like $1 million, but he made himself look like $1 million. That sell on the knee, he had me fooled at first. One thing, and I did kind of notice him. Nobody talked to him and stuff, so I figured it was a work, especially just kind of watching him in the ring. Like he was favoring the knee, obviously selling it, but at the same time, it felt like if the knees, like when they did the Tower of Doom spot, you could kind of see him firmly plant both legs on the ground, and that was actually the moment where I went, okay, pretty sure it's a work. Yeah, I can't say enough about Leon. I do want to touch on Dion Lennox as well. Somebody, I forget, it was Derek in the. We had his comment up a little bit ago here, but Dion Lennox is looking much better. And I agree. I mean, I think Dion's coming a long way. I've never been disappointed with his in-ring work, even going back, almost exactly a year ago when I went to NXT, the NXT tapings in Lowell, Massachusetts, right before Christmas, and Dion, I've said it a bunch of times on the show. Like I didn't even realize his entrance was happening because the crowd was so muted. Crowd like didn't make any noise for him coming out, and I was looking down at my phone. Didn't even know he was coming out until he happened to walk right past me. He's come a long way from that. But even that particular night, his in-ring work was fantastic. He just didn't have some sort of a character to connect with the crowd. And I don't know if the Dark State character is necessarily that character to connect with the crowd, because I don't know if Dark State period is connecting with the crowd. Um, but I think he's doing a heck of a lot better. And out of anybody in that faction, Dion Lennox is the one that that I see the most potential in, and I think the company does too, because obviously he's the leader of that faction, and yeah, he gave up the tag title I think it was was it Osiris he gave it to? I don't remember in that uh, segment from last week or the week before, but he gave up the tag title so he could focus on singles gold. Um, so big props to Dion, because I think he's come a heck of a long way in less than a year. To kind of build up his potential in the company. I don't think he's quite there yet, especially with this character, but big props to him for that.
Ryan Slorio says, "Don't forget Tony D overlooking Leon and Oba at the end of the show." I am forgetting that because I did not notice it.
I didn't either. That's news.
Yeah,
I'd have to go back and see that. I honestly didn't see that.
and just like, stop trying to make main event Tony D'Angelo happen. He's
Fetch.
oh, yeah, he's I don't know. He's Garrison Cade. He's meat. He's just there. He's not.
Meat. I did not think we'd be talking about Joey Abs and meat on this show tonight, but here we are.
Oh, he's just Goodfellow says, "What is Tony D's mission statement? What is he about? Don't know." And if I cared, that would be something, but I definitely don't. Yeah, I want to. I don't know. Maybe I don't want to, just the way that I am. But I'm pretty sure that I want him to figure it out. But it's been what, 5 years? It's been a long time. So I don't know.
There's the thing is that there is something there with Tony D'Angelo. Like I definitely see where you're coming from, and I know you're not his biggest fan.
Covering my mouth.
I know, but there is something there. I'm just I'm surprised that the company is taking so long without future endeavoring him, because they haven't found it yet.
Ryan says he's more successful than Meat. LOL. Meat was on the main roster, and his dad was world champion for 9 days. So there's that.
Yeah, but if they had a developmental, he would have probably been on that back then.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that would have been the thing. Watch an episode from then. It all looks developmental. It's pretty bad.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh, everybody learning on the job. Okay, let's go to, I don't know, let's go straight backwards. Kendall Gray and Ren Sinclair versus Fatal Influence. This one went 9:35. Another big win for Kendall Gray. They really like her. And I don't know, why not? She's Evolved champion. And, they got to have multiple double champions because there are so many belts. It's almost a mathematical necessity. But yeah, she is going for which one is she? Oh yeah, she's going after JC. Somebody's going after Fallon too, but I can't remember who. Wasn't mentioned this week. I don't know that I think maybe they realize they don't care about the speed belts. Jasper Troy is completely bye-bye. Like, he's just not been on the show at all.
Well, with the exception of tonight.
When was he on the show tonight? Oh,
he did a little backstage.
Stuck in the bathroom? I bet it was.
I don't know. I wasn't aware of your bathroom habits tonight, but yeah, he showed up tonight. They're going to be I think it was Ava was talking with him backstage. Said that we're going to be doing another men's speed tournament to determine his next challenger, and he ended up saying something along the lines of, like, doesn't matter who the challenger is, I'm gonna I forget exactly what he said. He's like, essentially, I'm gonna kick his ass, and he tried to sound super intimidating, and then Ava just looked at him and went, okay, and they cut to the next scene, and I was like, wow, that was how way to undercut this guy. Okay,
that
sounds good to me.
Must have been right before the Ricky Saints thing
I
because
think
I
I
missed the
think it
beginning of
was.
what
Yep.
Ricky Saints said.
Yeah, I think they cut from Ava going okay to Ricky Saints entrance.
Well, that's a bummer. Like I've been kind of annoyed that they haven't done anything with Jasper, and they finally do. And I'm dealing with having eaten too much pizza. Okay, so Gray and Sinclair over Fatal Influence.
You know,
I guess now I can throw to you. Yeah.
that's a problem I do to myself too. You know, yeah. Anyway, pizza's so good, but man, it does not love me back. So I did actually also miss a little bit of this match. I'm on call for work, and I had to jump for the beginning of this match. I had to jump and do a couple things. So I was listening in another tab while I was doing something for work for about 5-10 minutes. Um, but you know, can't complain. You know, for what I did see, I think it was good. Kendall Gray. I forget, somebody said it in the chat earlier, and I can't find it at the moment, but you know, for somebody that has only been wrestling for a handful of, actually a couple years now, I think it's 2 years. I checked on Cage Match earlier. She has total of 83. This might have been her 84th match. I don't know if Cage Match had this one. So 84th career match, period. And God, she's so good. She's so good, and the crowd is solidly behind her. I mean, even when Ren's in the ring, and Kendall was on the outside, looking to get the tag, the crowd is chanting for Kendall Gray. She is better than she has any right to be, with how little experience she has, and I mean that in the absolute best way possible. I really cannot wait to see what her career trajectory is, because I think there's something special with Kendall Gray. I really do. It could be this might be a lofty thing to say, considering she's still in Evolve, not even on NXT right now. But I could see her, in a very high profile WrestleMania match. Don't want to say a main event WrestleMania match, because there are only so many of those to go around. But I could definitely see her, wrestling for the title in a main event spot, or not, sorry, a high profile spot rather, on WrestleMania, in the next 5 years. Absolutely. I think she has the charisma, and she can back it up in the ring. So, Fatal Influence, I don't know, still plugging along there, I guess. I do like them a little bit more with Lainey Reed rather than Jasmine Nix. I feel like Lainey is much more of, she's a little, in a way, kind of like what Gigi Dolan was in Toxic Attraction. She kind of reminds me a little bit of her, that Gigi Dolan, but just kind of a little, I don't know how I'm trying to describe it, a little bit sassier than Jasmine Nix, a little more Mean Girls, I guess. The movie Mean Girls. So, yeah, don't have much more to say here, but I love Kendall Gray.
JC Jane turned face on me today because she said, I'd rather sit next to Book than your crusty butt. And she said that to Vic. That's a good line anyway, but saying it to Vic is so much better.
It is.
So JC Jane officially a babyface now. So yeah, that was fun. Kendall Gray, it's so weird because like she showed so little of this promise on. I mean, she could always wrestle. She was a savant at that in the ring, but like any kind of character, any kind of charisma, she was not showing that at all. I would forget she existed between episodes of Evolve early on, and they brought her on, and they brought her on NXT, and I was like, how is she ready? But I wasn't thinking of the fact that they shoot Evolve stuff like a month or two at a time, so they already knew stuff about her that I had not seen yet. So I had not seen how much better she just picked it up all at once. It's just they offered her the ball and she ran. So very cool stuff there. Really cool to see her starting to find her way. And I think it's funny that they keep using the Evolved women's division in these background scenes. They don't do it with the men. They just do background Evolved women when they want to do something in the locker room. And none of them ever speak, and it's just a bizarre thing that they've been doing for kind of a while now. Oh, I picked up my phone. That's not where my notes are. Okay. Hank and Tank versus OTM. This was long, 13 minutes and 45 seconds. And I was just thinking it was over long and absolutely needlessly long to put Hang and Tank in a match for. But it then occurred to me that they probably picked up 3 to 5 minutes that was meant to be for Thea Hale and Blake
I
Monroe.
I was thinking the
So
same thing.
yeah, yeah. Goodfella says that was my fave OTM match to date. I don't know, maybe. I guess it's possible. I thought it was long. I just don't love Hank and Tank, and I didn't love them tonight, and they're fine, and they are what they're supposed to be. And Solorio says, "Do you want to be Ryan Solorio? Do you want to be real legend?" I don't know if I'm
It was
like
because
messing this
YouTube's the
up.
one that changed it, not Ryan.
Is it cool that I say Ryan? Like, I don't want to. Like, I don't think I'm upsetting him. Anyway, he said I enjoyed the end of that match. The end being Hank and Tank winning, not my jam, but whatever. OTM Goodfella also says OTM using the AOP move, I think fits them. Yeah, the Super Collider they did. And unlike AOP, they don't like mash the guys' heads together, so it seems like they have a little bit more control out there than they do. And then I think was that all of it? Oh, Goodfella also says Hank and Tank looked a step off to me. Yeah, maybe so. I just feel like when you're thrown into the deep end and you find out your semi-long match is going to be quite a bit longer, that's probably tough. So I probably want to. Oh, Pile Driver Pete says what I am always thinking here. Hank and Tank went to Japan and didn't learn a new hold. Yeah, I expect a little more strong style, and the closest they got was when one of them, maybe Hank, and Bronco Nima just went to Slugfest, and Nima kind of did a fighting spirit spot where he just like absorbed it and like yelled, and I was like, no, it looks like they were the ones that went to Japan. Um, but whatever, it was fine, but I feel like the start stop with OTM and then bringing them back and then having them jobbers is just a little much. But somebody had to lose, and neither of these teams can really afford a loss. So I don't know what the answer is other than to maybe give them some wins over unnamed talent, unready talent. I know they don't really do actual jobbers on NXT, but I don't know what else to do here, I guess.
I disagree. I think that the an easy out here would have been to have OTM go over, which I think they should have since they just re-debuted. They really haven't had many big wins and all of that. Um, Hank and Tank, they just went to Japan. They won the GHC Tag Team Championships and subsequently lost them in the same run. Um, but they just did so many things and all of that. We had a huge video package that we saw, I think, over the course of 2 weeks. We saw it like 2 or 3 times. So they could have easily taken a loss here, and then OTM can, talk about how they just beat the guys that went to Japan and things like that. Even though, maybe there's not much of a story there. It's a storytelling business. They tell us a better story, with, OTM beating Hank and Tank, right after they get back from Japan and kind of build maybe a little bit of a feud with OTM and Hank and Tank there. I was very surprised to see Hank and Tank get the win. I feel like the company is probably behind them a little bit more. I think they like the charisma and kind of the craziness, zaniness that Hank and Tank have, kind of in a similar way to like, we always kind of Heavy Machinery as a comparison a lot. Maybe like Too Cool, is another one that's kind of one of those comedy style tag teams. Um, there's definitely something there with Hank and Tank for sure, but I really did. I thought this was the time for OTM to get a much 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 needed win over a tag team that, well, you may call them jobbers. I feel like are elevated a bit above OTM, on the card right now. Um, yeah, as far as the match went, I thought it was fine. It did seem maybe a little bit long or a little bit clunky in spots, but that was the exact thought that I had in the middle of this match when I felt like it started to go a little long. Was, you know what? I bet you Thea and Blake Monroe probably had another 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes to go before the match was supposed to end. So they had to pick up some of that time. We know from WWE Unreal, as well as other guest coaches that have come backstage to kind of coach some of these NXT talents. Stevie Richards is really the one that I'm thinking of. I was listening to his podcast a little while ago, and he was talking about coming down as a guest coach down to NXT. And one of the things that he got in trouble for when actually being an agent for a match, I can't remember if it was a televised match or if it was a house show, but it was Otis and somebody else. He couldn't remember who else was in the match, but he told the guys, go out there, have a match, call it in the ring. He didn't tell them what to call, when to call it, and he got in trouble for that. He was supposed to actually call each spot, each move, essentially going and going. And we also saw that in WWE Unreal. So if that is what you're used to, and then all of a sudden you're like, the company goes, oh, hey, something just happened in the last match. We get a tack five more minutes onto this match. They've probably already rehearsed this match. They probably already know what spot they're supposed to be going to, and now all of a sudden they need to, last minute insert other things in here. So I think that's probably why it felt a little weird, I guess. In some spots, especially towards the end. Yeah, I mean, I only ever did a weekend camp to get in the ring, but I don't know. I feel like you got to be able to call things in the ring. For moments exactly like this where you can't have everything rehearsed, because especially in a business like this where you obviously you can have something go wrong, somebody gets hurt, a match doesn't go as long as you think it's going to be. You need to be able to call those audibles, and I don't know. I feel like that's probably where things went. I don't even say wrong, because they didn't necessarily go wrong, but I guess to maybe some more hardcore fans, it did seem like the match was a little bit long and a little clunky at points. So, yeah, my 2 cents anyway.
Goodfellas says, should have given the ladies a tag an extra few minutes, which I dig, except they plan the timing of the crossover, so something exciting is happening as it crosses over to 8 o'clock. And Ricky Starks, his segment started right before 8. So, well, 8 where I am, 9 where some of y'all are. But that segment, they want that to be able to start just a bit before the crossover, which is why they wanted to make up the time in the first hour, I imagine. So, but hey, maybe they did give the ladies an extra minute. We don't know. Anyway,
now let's talk about it.
Yeah, plenty of backstage stuff that I could have done first, but we got to talk about it sometime. Thea Hale, not with a bang but a whimper, wins her first championship on NXT ever. She's been there for 4 years. Strange for her to be such an old hat when she is 22 years old. But yes, that is the situation. Thea goes over Blake in a match where I doubt she was supposed to go over at all, but if she was, it was supposed to take longer than it did. I did not recognize the referee, but I probably don't have to commit his face to memory because I might not ever see it again. But at any rate, he counted 3. Now, Blake didn't do any favors by doing what this generation does a lot, where she just shoots her arm up. But honestly, her elbow never came up. Her shoulder never came up. So when they replayed that, I was like, the only reason that damage control works is because nobody kicks out properly anymore. So
and we don't mean the stable.
Yeah. And so They kind of got away with it, but they did have to do damage control. But in the moment, it was just really bad. Nobody knew what to do. Music played, and it was the wrong music. The guy calls for the championship belt where the girls are still trying to figure out, do we keep wrestling? Like, they didn't know what to do. And then they called, they had a scene later on where Kelly Kincaid talked to Thea and congratulated her. And honestly, the fact that this celebration was backstage to me proves that this was not supposed to happen at all. Um, Not only just not the way it did, but at all. I think she was probably supposed to lose this match, so she will probably lose the championship back, unless they really, really have something in mind for next week. So they had this scene with Thea Hale, and then Jordan Gray saying, "Hey, you figured it out earlier than I did." And I thought maybe Jordan was going to turn heel because she's got reason to. Like, we would believe a villain origin story for her at this point, but that didn't happen. And then Blake Monroe comes in with these tears and all frustrated and everything, and I really liked Blake in this scene, and
Yeah.
really, really dug the intensity she brought to that, where she just says, "Give me back my championship. I want my match," and then enjoy your new muscle muffin. So that was fun too. But yeah, we got a new champion, and it's going to be easy to forget because it was just so strange, Nate.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. I mean, the match itself, leading up to that was good. Um, but I don't even know if there's a lot of blame that can be placed on the ref. But then again, yeah, I watched it back, and the ref stood up and he did one of these. He did, and if you're listening, not watching me on YouTube, I'm holding up, well, devil horns, I guess, but two fingers. This is what he did. Um, and then immediately kind of turns around, and a lot of confusion. But I mean, they showed a couple different replays of Blake, especially coming back from commercial break. They played one replay with of Blake Monroe putting her arm up, but her shoulder never came up off the mat. I mean, it's wrestling. The 3 count hits. If your shoulder's not off the mat, you lose. So they made the right call in terms of giving the win to Thea Hale, not restarting the match or whatever, and making it seem contrived or whatever. They just kind of rolled with the punches. I I think this is a great mistake for Thea Hale because she's obviously now is the North American champion. I think a lot of people did want to see her finally win a title, me being one of them. Um, I just feel like she deserved to win her first title with a little bit more pomp and circumstance and a
And
little
I
bit
would
more
guess
celebration.
that would be how she feels too. How,
Yeah.
like, she's always going to have this memory of her first gold being the result of just a really bizarre circumstance.
Yeah, and like the first time somebody wins the title, usually on commentary they're celebrating and like, oh, good, congratulations, Thea Hale. Yeah, especially when it's a baby face, an energetic baby face like Thea Hale, nonetheless. And they basically, oh, yeah, Thea Hale, new champion, and they cut to the next segment. It was very quick. It very, very clearly was not supposed to go down that way. And I don't believe she was supposed to win the title. Like going back, the last time that I can really remember something like this happened was Shinsuke Nakamura versus R-Truth for the US title. And there was a spot where Shinsuke just didn't kick out, didn't get his arm up fast enough. And there was some confusion, and then they name R-Truth the champion. R-Truth, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was the Chris Van Vliet show. R-Truth talked about it and he said that he was actually supposed to win, just not then. So that's why there was some confusion, and he kind of at that moment he actually even continued to try and wrestle a little bit before they made the announcement that he won. But in this case, I don't think Thea was supposed to win. I think Blake was supposed to win. You could see the look on Blake Monroe's face, like she was
And
trying
Blake's
to.
music played first too.
Exactly. Blake's music played first. And as her music was playing, you could see her kind of sitting in the corner, and she has this look on her face that was still kind of in character, but you could kind of almost tell underneath that was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, what just happened? Like almost kind of pissed off that she was in this particular position. Um, I don't know. I think they're gonna try and turn the chicken shit into chicken salad, as they say in the wrestling biz. Um, and I think that they started to do that with that backstage segment. As you said, Blake Monroe was perfect in that segment. She came in with what sounded like real tears and actual emotion, probably because there might have been some of that considering what happened. Um, but I'm kind of hoping this isn't just a quick little Tatum Paxley-esque run with the title. Tatum obviously with the NXT championship, not the North American title, but she only held it for a couple weeks. I'm hoping that, even though this might have been a mistake, maybe they pivot and give Thea a halfway decent run with the title because, God, I think she deserves it. She's super entertaining, and I think the contrast with her as the champion, as the women's North American champion, and somebody like Ethan Page as the male North American champion, they're very similar and very different all at the same time. Charisma off the charts, and I don't know. I just think both of them representing the North American division for their respective male and women division. I like it. I really do. This might have been an accident, but man, I really hope this turns into gold for Thea Hill.
Yeah, I think she's probably going to drop it back pretty quickly, but I guess we
I
will
do too,
see. I
but
mean, they set up the
I can hope.
rematch, and Ryan said Jordan Grace is going to cost Thea her rematch against Blake if they do that match. I'm going to go ahead and steal that thought and claim I thought of it first because I think that is why they did the scene that they did, and they figured out the right time to do um, Jordan Grace's turn, which they seemingly have been teasing for kind of a while. Goodfella says, was reported that this was not supposed to happen by Fightful. Take that for what you do. I will take that to the bank. I think you can trust that reporting. And
Yeah,
on top of which, I feel like all the pieces were in place.
I saw the same report from Fightful too. Yeah,
Yeah. And Solorio says, Blake, from what I noticed, is good at keeping in character, even if something doesn't go right. I mean, the proof was all there tonight. That was very, very much a. I thought she did a great job there. Reminds me of when Rhea Ripley was wrestling Tegan Knox and in the Mae Young Classic, and Tegan destroyed her legs on a tope suicida or whatever it was, and Rhea had to keep it heel while also not attacking. And I thought she was just absolutely excellent in doing what she had to do, even though backstage gets along with Tegan Knox and was probably very, very concerned, but had to do what she had to do. And that was the first time I thought, because Rhea did not click for me for a long time. And in that one, in the second Mae Young Classic, that's when she did. And she did go one match deeper than she was supposed to. What I've heard is that Tegan was supposed to beat her and then Tegan would lose. But Rhea had to go one match deeper into the final four and lose to maybe Tony Storm. I don't remember. But
I
yes,
think it was.
that is what that is what I saw. So okay, let's go to some backstage stuff. Ricky and Javon. Javon was waiting outside in the parking lot because nothing good ever happens there. And then Leon Slater said, man, you got to be there for my match. And so he convinced Javon to go inside. Hopefully Javon watched it because it was real good. And then Ricky and Javon ended up brawling, but Ricky had his hand-picked security detail, which held back Javon so Ricky could get the upper hand. I thought that Ricky acquitted himself pretty well in what I saw after my fantastically horrifying run to the bathroom. But yeah, anything on Javon or Ricky, who almost certainly will be facing off at New Year's Eve?
So I like I like Javon going out into the parking lot and being like, no, I'm waiting for Ricky Saints. I wish he would have mentioned something about Ricky Saints in Saturday night's main event. I know that it's a non-canon, kind of a non-canon show, and it's not an NXT show, but there was a bit of a disconnect for me with how, I guess, nonchalant, maybe that's not the right word, but just how focused he was at Saturday night's main event on Saturday night's main event, and then coming into tonight, he's like, "No, Ricky Saints, what happened last week? Blah blah blah. I need Ricky. I need Ricky." If he was that, like, at least in my mind anyway, if he was that like laser focused on getting a hold of Ricky Saints, I wish he would have mentioned it on TV on Saturday night's main event, even if it was just a passing comment or something. Um, because I don't know that for me, it just seemed like there was a little bit of disconnect, mostly a nitpick, but calling it because hey, I saw it. But I do like the fact that you're hanging out in the parking lot. Ava couldn't convince him to come in, but his tag team partner, his boy, his buddy, his bro, his fellow bouncy boy, if you will, I guess. I don't know. That doesn't sound right. Whatever. Um, was able to come out and kind of convince him to come back in the building. So it works for me. Um, I think I like Ricky as a heel. Ricky, I've mentioned it a few times. He didn't really seem to connect for me as champion. There was a couple nights where it seemed to work, and he was starting to turn my opinion. But for me, it just, I don't know. I don't think the entirety of his run, as short as it was, as NXT champion, really worked for me. Um, I and I think maybe it was because of the placement, his kind of placement as a baby face. I like him coming out tonight, running down the audience, speaking his truths, if you will, because he spoke with conviction and he spoke in a way that I haven't heard him speak on NXT TV quite yet. Um, so I think this works. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with Ricky Saints as a heel on NXT TV going forward. When he had all of his security guards, surrounding the ring, standing on the apron, he had two kind of facing up the ramp. He had two facing the crowd, two facing Vic and Book. But I noticed he did not have any bodyguards standing either side by side of him or in front of him. And I'm like, Javon's gonna jump the barricade where hard cam is, guarantee it. And that's what happened. I love it when I can predict things. It makes me feel like a wizard. Um, not a line I thought I was going to say tonight, but here we are. And I think Javon coming in to try and get his revenge certainly works. He was literally one count away from becoming NXT champion. We knew he wasn't going to win that match because they wanted Obafemi to go into his match against Cody Rhodes, not Koba, Cody Rhodes, champion versus champion. They didn't want him to not have that championship, especially after promoting the match as such. So, we kind of knew Javon was going to lose that, but regardless, in the storyline anyway, he certainly has a reason to be mad at Ricky Saints. So I think all of that certainly worked. And, I think Javon and Ricky are going to be in a match, trying to figure out who the number one contender is before long.
Everything else that happened was backstage or was a talk segment. Ethan Page came out for his weekly talk segment. Actually, was this? Yeah, this one was out there. And then Stax and Ariana showed up, and that was a little bit of a surprise that they of all people showed up because they are heels also. But Stax trying to make a name for himself. But then Moose showed up, and he took over the segment. And Moose now will face Ethan Page on December 30th. I thought the crowd was kind of quiet for this, but they might have still been in a daze after that opening match that was so bizarre. So maybe that was part of it. I don't know. Maybe they thought they were going to reshoot the match, but that happened. And then Ethan was in another scene where Zaruka was talking to Ava, and then Ethan showed up and said, "I thought I told you to stop talking to her," which I thought was a good line. Chelsea Green showed up and
Said the word cream pie.
She did. She sure did. And then next week we got word that Sol Ruka will try to add to her trophy case against Chelsea Green. So on the ballot of Ethan Page, Nate.
So I thought it was kind of cool. Ethan Page comes out and he calls out Tony D'Angelo, and Stax music hits. So Stax still can't escape the the D'Angelo family bubble, even with this new gimmick as Ariana Grace's boyfriend. Whatever. Credit to Stax, for becoming the TNA Intercontinental Champion or International Champion. That's what it's called, International Champion. Which, by the way, I really like that title, like the way it looks. I'm a title guy. I love the aesthetics of the title. Love the way that looks on that blue belt. Totally off the topic, but whatever. Got to throw that out there. Stax is going to be one of the members of Team NXT going up against Team TNA coming up on Thursday in a cage match on Impact. Team NXT is like Stax, Brooks Jensen, the High Rise, and oh god, I can't remember one other person. It's basically all of TNA's top guys like Mike Santana and stuff like against people that should be in Evolve. But whatever.
Well, almost
Oh,
all those
Lexus
guys are
King.
involved. Yeah.
Lexus King. He's the other one in that match. But so Stack's obviously doing stuff like that. I think him and Ariana Grace versus Ethan Page and Chelsea Green for the AAA Mixed Tag Team Championships, if and when that happens, should be hilarious because of Chelsea Green and Ariana Grace. I cannot wait for that. Absolutely cannot wait for that. I'm becoming such a huge fan of Chelsea Green's. It's not even funny. Mostly for just her comedic timing and stuff. If you haven't seen it, watch her. Her and Chris Van Vliet did a live a live show, and it just dropped I think a week or so ago on YouTube. And oh my God, she had me in stitches the entire show. Just hilarious. But yeah. So anyway, Ethan Page, Stax. I started talking about Stax being still tied to Tony D'Angelo. So there we go with that. Who came out after that in that segment? It's on the tip of my tongue. Who came out after?
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah. Oh, I crossed it out. Moose.
Moose. That's right, Moose. So Moose coming out. I was not really expecting him to say, hey, I'm laser focused on Ethan Page, because he comes out and says, he's sick and tired of NXT guys winning TNA titles. So I figured he was going to challenge Stax, try and bring the international title back to TNA. But no, he's going to try and bring an NXT title back to TNA. So I'm happy with that, because as much as I would hate to see Ethan Page lose his North American Championship, because man, I love this whole Canadian greatest North American thing. It's awesome. Moose is a fantastic talent in and of itself. And I have said many times at this point that I really want to see a true TNA talent that's not a former WWE legend like the Hardy Boys win a WWE championship, an NXT championship. I really do. Not only has, on Reddit and other places that I frequent on the internet, a lot of TNA diehards are just kind of sick and tired of NXT talent coming in and winning their titles. I kind of feel like the storyline with TNA and WWE, it's like it's WWE doing their thing. They're taking, but they're not quite giving back as much as they're taking. And that was kind of one of my points with the Team TNA versus Team NXT coming up this week on Impact. Like, I don't know, it just feels like it should be some higher profile NXT talent in that match to represent NXT. But because it's on a TNA programming, they're not getting that higher profile talent. They're getting the High Rise. They're getting Lexus King. They're getting Stax. They're getting Brooks Jensen. So yeah, I don't know. Point being, I really would like to see a homegrown TNA, well, not homegrown, but a true TNA talent, somebody like Moose, win the win a title, North American title. I think that should be a good match when that does happen. Um, yeah, I think that's really it. I don't have much to say about the backstage segment, so we can move on.
Okay, just two more segments we didn't talk about. Both near the end of the show. One with Izzy Dame talking down Lola Vice in the back, and then Izzy took her leave. And Lola had a scene with Kalani. Lola asking Kalani what she's doing here. She goes here, and I don't know why the writers don't know this, but Lola kicking out Kalani doesn't make her a babyface just because Kalani wanted to represent TNA. Like, that is not a babyface thing at all, and it makes Lola look petty and pathetic. So whatever. So Kalani comes off as the lesser of two evils in this scene. Shiloh Hill had a scene with Danny Sikelski, whose name I definitely had heard before this podcast. Well, actually, I looked it up when she was on screen. She needs to tan less often. Maybe good friends with Mandy Rose. They've got the daily pass to the tanning booth next to the school. I don't know. But then they had a scene with Stax and Ariana, and maybe we'll get a tag team match.
Sorry, I was looking at something. Who was it that you were talking about?
Shiloh Hill and Danny Sikelski.
Ah, okay, cool. Yeah, this was a I I kind of liked this. Shiloh Hill, like, and granted, I have no idea who she was. I'm assuming she's the female LFG winner, but
She was.
I
They
was
said
just kind of,
that real quick. Yeah.
yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
was kind of just going off of context. I didn't actually pick that up. So, but yeah, I thought this was kind of cool. Like Shiloh Hill, he's just being his weird, nerdy self backstage. Somebody tries to kind of call him out for it, and he's just like, yeah, whatever. Like I'm who I am. Like and I like that energy. I feel like we need more of that. Not just in wrestling. I just feel like in life, people just need to be good with who they are. But I love Shiloh Hill. Uh, Maybe we do get a mixed tag team match. Between Ariana Grace and Stax and Shiloh and Danny. But which you probably will consider it, just kind of from what we got in that segment. It seems like that's probably where they're going to go. But I just want to see more out of Shiloh Hill. I want to see him in the ring every week right now. I Whether it's a jobber style match, which I don't, like we said earlier, they don't necessarily do a lot of those anymore, but do something like they did with like Bull Dempsey back in the day, or I can't remember. They knows there was somebody else that they did that with. They had a bunch of jobbers come in back then. But I think that'd be a great way to kind of get him over a little bit. Give him 2 to 3 minute matches, show how dominant he can be in those 2 or 3 minutes, then give him some longer matches. Not that he can't have a longer match right now, but I think that'd be a great way to kind of build him up, give him that kind of old school jobber match type treatment, and build him up that way. Ryback's the other one that I was trying to think of. Yeah, there we go. Don't have much to say there. Much more to say there.
All right. Goodfella says Bull Dempsey shout out. LOL. Yes. Even in NXT 8 years back, I have not been talking about him for like 3 years. So it has been a little while since we were talking about Bull Dempsey. And I wasn't going to necessarily bring this up, but we started talking about being okay with who we are. And CJ in the chat said, I try to be good with who I am, but sometimes it is really hard. I also have been fighting generalized depression my entire life. Last week, I don't remember if I was here or not, but if I was here. I was fighting it real, real hard. Monday to Wednesday last week was the worst stretch of it that I've actually ever had. I would call last Monday, like a week ago yesterday, like the worst day of depression I ever had in my life. But I'm still kicking it back, and I'm still getting through somehow. And I don't do this on the show very often, but if anybody out there is helped by the fact that somebody who's got it bad continues to fight, then I want them to hear it. So to CJ and so to everybody else out there who has this particular malady, and maybe we'll fight it forever, but we'll keep on fighting. I'm with you, man. All right.
No,
So
it honestly, same here. I mean, I'm ADHD, and a lot of times ADHD can present almost in a bipolar type cycle. And so I'll have days where I'm up, I'm up, I'm up. I have days where I just crash, and it's tough to get out of bed, tough to actually do anything. It affects all aspects of my life, personal life, affects my job. Thankfully, I am blessed to have, and I don't use that word, I'm not religious, but I am going to say I am blessed to have the job that I have, because they know what I deal with, know what I go through, and they work with me. They know if I'm having a bad day that I might not be logging in, and they're fine with it. I still get paid. So there's that. But yeah, CJ and other people, you guys aren't alone. A lot of people deal with this stuff, and a lot of times you might not even know it. But I think it's talking about it and normalizing it in society is a kind of a good way to help.
yeah, um, yeah. Somebody in the chat said they can barely get out of bed some days, and that was indeed my deal last Monday. I could not get out of bed and did not go to work. Long story short, Monday is the one day where that kind of isn't a problem. But regardless of what day it was, that would have been the case that day. So that is I don't know. I am almost always an unserious person. I mean, I love wrestling, so there's that. But I'm a very silly guy, and maybe that's related, maybe it's not. But it's really hard for me to open up this long and not undercut it with jokes. So let's go, guys. We did it together. But let me undercut it now by saying horseshoe, because I need to do something or say something stupid and
Why
run
not
for the
shucky ducky
exit.
quack quack?
Oh, I don't know about that stupid, but
Oh,
we
okay.
could.
All right.
Booker sang the Joe Hendry song today. It was so bizarre.
I know. So weird.
But charming bizarre. So yes, CJ, we can. I'm terrible about getting a hold of people online, but I will. Okay, so that I believe is our show, and thanks for sticking around and for humoring us with that chatter at the end. So yeah, cheers, and we'll see you in 7.